What is up, everybody out there in podcast land? Welcome to the latest and the greatest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Dropping here late Wednesday night, August the 19th, 2026. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador, Dave Height, will not be with us this week. He is enjoying an actual, real, true blue, verified checkbox vacation. He will be back next week as we review the results of the Sports Frenzy 2.0 Fantasy Football Draft for 2026. But what does that mean for you, our humble, loyal listeners out there in podcast land? That means that we will give you our fantasy football preview. Well, I will. And I, of course, am the greatest fantasy football expert on the planet. So everything I say should be taken as gospel. But before we get to our fantasy football preview for 2026, let's look at what has happened in the past week in the NFL, because this could impact how you draft, how you handle your teams, whether you are in a keeper league, whether you are in a straight up head-to-head league, or something that I have discovered over the last couple years, a death league. You have to know how to draft based on the rules that your particular league has put in place. But before we get there, let's talk about what has happened in the NFL this past week for the Chicago Bears. Bad news for Kyle Manungai. He has a knee issue. He will probably be out the entire preseason, if not stretching into the regular season. We're going to see a lot of this, discuss a lot of this over the next few minutes. And again, this will impact how you draft when it comes time for fantasy football. Now, on the defensive side, the Bears signed defensive end Marcus Davenport to shore up what they've got. Talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Bears are not projected to have a very good defense. So, number one, do not draft the Bears when it comes to fantasy football. But number two, for those of us who are actual Bears fans who only care about the results on the field, not good news. That they're already trying to find ways to plug holes and shore up issues that they're having already. Free agent signings over the past week. Keenan Allen, of course, long-time Los Angeles Chargers receiver. Played, of course, briefly with the Bears. He has signed with the Colts on a one-year, $8.32 million deal. I think this is a very smart move for the Colts, because I think this is a do-or-die year for Shane Steichen. He has got to make it work this year. Von Miller, legendary, future Hall of Famer, phenomenal pass rusher, is going to the Cowboys. We will see how much he has left in the tank. Now, here's the weird thing about the Seattle Seahawks. I understand this is a team that has always prided themselves on defense. I get it. I do. But they seem to be going nutsy, cuckoo, crazy with signing cornerbacks. So not only did they re-sign their own quarterback, Devon Witherspoon, for 4 years and $132 million, with over $101 million guaranteed, which, by the way, makes him the highest paid cornerback ever. You would think, okay, we're done, we're good. No, no, no. They decide to bring in the despicable, awful scumbag cut by the Detroit Lions, Terrion Arnold. What do they know that we don't know? What do they know? Do they know that somehow the justice system will once again fail us and let Terrion Arnold walk? Despite multiple felony charges against him? Disgusting beyond belief. This is disgusting beyond belief. I hope the Seahawks have to eat a ton of money on this. But of course, they won't. And then news comes out today that they're going to sign Trayvon Diggs, former outstanding cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. What is it that the Seattle Seahawks are seeing that we're not? They're loading up on their secondary, even to the point where they're signing a guy who's probably going to go to prison. I understand the fact they have to go up against the Rams, they have to go up against the 49ers, and of course the Cardinals. Yes, you laugh, but the Cardinals' offense is nothing to joke about. It's the defense that needs some work in Arizona. Something is amiss here, though. Something is just wrong. Now, injuries for preseason week 1. And again, this will play into our fantasy football preview coming up in just a few minutes. Jeremiah Love, who I have thought has been ridiculously undervalued here over the past few weeks. Well, maybe now we see why. High ankle sprain, will probably sit out the rest of the preseason. Is this a disaster if you happen to jump in on a league early and draft him? I don't think so. But is this a precursor, a sign of things to come? Does this mean he's going to be a China doll? Does this mean he's going to be a little bit fragile? He looked great in week 1 of the preseason. But now all of a sudden, I can't, I don't want to do the rest of the preseason. We'll see how this plays out. Jamal Adams in Minnesota. Knee injury, he is done for the year. We will see how the Vikings defense adjusts. Breece Hall, groin injury, probably out for the rest of the preseason. The number 8 pick in the 2026 draft, Jordan Tyson, wide receiver for the Saints. He has a hamstring issue. He could be out up to 2 months. You see the pattern here, kids? Do you see what's happening here? It doesn't matter if you play 1 minute in the preseason or 3 quarters or 3 games in the preseason. You're going to get hurt. And we are dealing with snowflakes here. I'm sorry, we are. A lot of these players just will not put in the effort because they're scared to death they're going to end up jeopardizing their long-term prospects. If you don't get out on the field and play, you're not going to have any long-term prospects, you idiot. Alvin Kamara. I guess he has had enough of picking fights in elevators with his posse. He's got an MCL sprain. He will be out at least a month. And Houston Texans wide receiver Jaden Higgins, who was supposed to be, by all accounts on the depth chart, the number 2 guy opposite Nico Collins. He has torn his ACL. He is done for the year. And I will stick by what I have said over the last couple weeks. The Texans are not the team you should be picking to win the AFC. Oh, defense is so awesome. Oh my God, defense. They suck on offense. They suck on offense. And here's a little hint for you when it comes to our fantasy football preview. Do not draft CJ Stroud no matter what. No matter what. Great news came down today for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vita Vea. At least they've solved this problem, this issue. Vita Vea has agreed to a 1-year extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so at least now the defense is shored up. Now we just need to figure out a way to keep Baker Mayfield from bitching and pissing and moaning. Stick a nipple in his face and get him re-signed and get him back in the fold. And stop with the whole negative bullshit, Baker. Tampa Bay took you on when nobody else wanted to. So stop with the, oh my God, I've been disrespected. Shut up, Baker. Respect the team that respected you. Now, before we get to our fantasy football preview, one last thing that I can complain about, that I can yell about. Of course, I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. You are who you are. And once again, the conquistador Dave Height is off this week on vacation. Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the National Football League. Dave has told me, year in and year out, you're falling for the trap. You're trying to be nice to this guy when you shouldn't. And I finally have realized he is 100% right. Ever since the Ray Rice debacle, Roger Goodell has proved himself to be nothing but an inept idiot when it comes to running the NFL. And now we get proof positive. Roger Goodell confirmed that there will be an international team in the NFL at some point in the near future. I have said over and over and over again how much I hate these international games. You have fans, you have cities in the United States that are deserving. If you are going to expand, what about Birmingham? What about Salt Lake City? No, we've got to go to Great Britain and Spain and South America. Shut the fuck up, Roger. Again, ever since he botched the discipline with Ray Rice, where we had video of Ray Rice beating a woman, dragging her into an elevator, and he didn't know, I don't know how to handle this. This could be really hard for me. This was the moment when we should have realized that Roger Goodell is a puppet. And now, more so than ever, we should see he is in the pockets of the owners. I get it. He is the man, the figurehead working for the owners. But wouldn't you like to have a commissioner who actually gave two rip shits about the fans? The American fans, the fans here in the 50 states. Instead of talking about, it's just inevitable that we're going to have to put a team in Europe or in South America or in Mexico, shut the fuck up. You are a terrible leader. You are a terrible CEO for the NFL. A true, decent CEO would look to any and every option possible in America to expand instead of immediately kowtowing to other countries. Mark my words, kids. 15 years from now, you are going to see a massive, massive downturn in the NFL. They are going to dilute the product to the point where we don't care anymore. And of course, they will sell out to every streaming service possible. And by the way, Peacock just announced they're upping their prices to $13 a month. So that means if they have an exclusive Peacock game this year, $13 just to watch that one game. Oh, unless, of course, you want to watch Love Island. Yes, I am fired up about this because I can't stand the fact that Roger Goodell does not know how to fix and to keep a cash cow running. He is trying to do everything he can to destroy it. I want to see what happens with Major League Baseball in the shutdown that's coming for 2027. How will this work? Will Rob Manfred actually show some balls and shut down the game for a year to reset everything and make it work right? Because if he doesn't, if he caves and he lets the Yankees and the Mets and the Dodgers run everything, then we have no hope for the future. Because Roger Goodell's going to look at that and go, oh, look, it doesn't matter what the fans think. Screw the fans. Fuck the fans right up the ass. My take, my viewpoint, you might disagree. But of course, that leads us into our great and glorious 2026 fantasy football preview. Now, next week, your Uncle Dave will be back with me and we will break down the results of the Sports Frenzy 2026 fantasy football draft. But now, tonight, on August the 19th, you and I get to talk. Just you and I. Now, will I give up all my secrets? No. I will not. Keep in mind, I have won the Sports Frenzy Fantasy Football League multiple times, including last year. So I think what I'm going to pass along to you, again, restrained, you don't know who's listening. My advice is always good. Let us start off with quarterbacks. Now, drafting fantasy football quarterbacks is always a tricky proposition. You should wait, and wait. There's going to be somebody who is always going to jump ahead of you and draft Josh Allen, Caleb Williams, maybe Lamar Jackson, maybe Patrick Mahomes. I say wait, and wait. Now, with all that being said, if you do decide to wait on quarterback, I would say that you better think about going back to back. Now, we have a small league. We have an 8-team league. And I know most of you are 10 to 12 team leagues. So you might not have this luxury. But what I would aim for in terms of quarterbacks is getting maybe a back-to-back, something like a Baker Mayfield and a Justin Herbert, or a... See, this is where it gets up. I don't like Jordan Love. I would not draft Jordan Love no matter what. Maybe a Jared Goff paired up with a Brock Purdy, something like that. You see where I'm going here? You're not going to go out of your way to draft one of the first 8 quarterbacks. But if you drop out of that tier, you drop out of that tier with the first 8 quarterbacks, then you need to start thinking about need to get 9 and 10 as soon as possible. But hopefully by that point in time, you have already won your draft because you have drafted some phenomenal running backs and some awesome wide receivers. Now, those are the 2 positions we really care about. You know this. You should be drafting, unless extreme circumstances come into play. You should be drafting a running back, wide receiver in the first 5 rounds. If you can get your hands on a premium tight end, a Brock Bowers, a Trey McBride, a Colston Loveland, round 4, round 5, depending on where you're drafting, okay, I can forgive you. But you have really got to focus on the skill positions at this point. So this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of our fantasy football draft. The first 3 or 4 wide receivers should be fairly simple. You got Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb. After that, maybe we start to fluctuate a little bit. Now, it also depends on the scoring in your league. Are you half PPR? God forbid, no PPR. Who does that anymore? Does anybody actually have a league where there is no points for a reception? That's stupid. I would assume you've got to at least have a half PPR, if not a full PPR. My goal for my draft coming up this Monday is I need to get in the top 3. I want either Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase, or, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's pretty much universally acknowledged. But beyond that, I'm not enamored. And I will tell you this. I am not enamored with these wide receivers once you get past the top 3. I will take Jamar Chase. I will take Puka Nacua. I will take Jackson Smith and Jigba. And after that, I'm like, why is everybody so enamored with Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or CeeDee Lamb? Especially when we're talking about the first round. I'm not talking about second, third round. Those are the areas where I would look for these guys. And of course, they're not going to be there because somebody is going to take them foolishly much earlier than they should be drafted. So now if we look at running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, 1A, 1B. Everybody acknowledges the fact. These are the top 2 guys to take as far as running backs go and maybe overall. Then things get a little dicey. Christian McCaffrey. Potential for huge numbers, but potential for injury. Jonathan Taylor, potential for huge numbers, potential for a letdown if Daniel Jones is not ready to play. Devon Achane, who knows what he is going to be in an offense led by Malik Willis. Ashton Genty, is he going to bounce back from that abysmal year last year? Now that he's got Clint Kubiak as his head coach, he's got a decent quarterback, whether it will be Kirk Cousins or, of course, the number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza. Why are Jeremiah Love and Saquon Barkley ranked so low? Those 2 seem to me to be sleeper picks just sitting out there waiting. And hopefully the guys and the gals that I play with in Sports Frenzy in our fantasy football league will ignore anything other than these ratings. These, of course, are ESPN's ratings. Because I'd be more than happy to see Saquon Barkley and Jeremiah Love plummet to the 2nd or even the 3rd round. Again, keep in mind, the Sports Frenzy League is only 8 teams. But now, if you have a 10 or 12 team league, you might not have this luxury. I do like Chase Brown a lot out of Cincinnati. I don't understand the love and the hype for Omarion Hampton, for the Chargers. Breece Hall, I was high on until I heard about his injury. Now I'm backing off on that. Kenneth Walker in Kansas City, I like him still, but would not draft him until the 2nd or 3rd round. Tight Tight ends are a pain in the ass. No pun intended. It's back and forth 1-2, 2-1. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. I think it really depends on if you've got a PPR, a full point PPR league. I think Trey McBride is better in a full PPR league. Brock Bowers will probably be better in a half PPR but touchdown league. I do like Colston Loveland a lot. He is consensus number 3. And Tyler Warren, Indianapolis, is your consensus number 4 tight end. And after that, kids, boom. We're talking about the most significant drop-off, plummet in any position that we are going to talk about. The gap between Tyler Warren at 4 and whoever else you want to pick at 5. Kyle Pitts, Harold Fannin, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft. This is what's going to, in my opinion, make or break your draft. If you don't get one of those top 4 tight ends, you're screwed. Because you're going to have to pay attention to the waiver wire 24/7 to find somebody, some young stud who pops up and makes it big. Tight end is crucial to your fantasy team. Now, of course, we still got to talk about wide receivers, defenses, kickers, but if you do not get McBride, Bowers, Loveland, Warren, you are a step behind. Now, yes, I pivoted from running backs to tight ends, now back to wide receivers. I have problems with wide receivers. I like the top 3. I like Jamar Chase. I like Puka Nacua. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let me take that back. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Amon-Ra St. Brown is on the border. CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, fine. Justin Jefferson. If you are going to buy into Kyler Murray being the be-all, end-all savior for the Minnesota Vikings, then fine. Justin Jefferson, go for it. I am not drafting him as the 6th best wide receiver out there. I don't like Drake London, especially with Tua Tagovailoa as his quarterback. Who knows if Rashee Rice is going to be available due to injury issues, due to off-the-field issues. Nico Collins has got an absolute shitty quarterback. So that's why I think if you can't get one of these top 3, 4, 5, I will go to CeeDee Lamb, okay? Let's go 5. Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and CeeDee Lamb. If you can't get one of those top 5 receivers, one of them in the first 2 rounds, you are screwed. And to me, there's no point in even worrying about it. Stack up on every other position possible. Because I'm sorry, I'm not buying into Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors. Give me a break. Seriously. Defenses. You should wait as long as humanly possible to draft a defense. However, do not wait too long. How I've always looked at it is it's defenses versus kickers. What do you value more? Who can give you more value? And I'm going to tell you this. If you can get Brandon Aubrey, kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, take him. I would take him above any top defense. I would take Brandon Aubrey. Now, if you can't get Brandon Aubrey, bail. Go back, draft the best running back, draft the best wide receiver you can. Stack up on the skill positions. Because after Brandon Aubrey, the kickers are all the same. Now, in terms of defense, this is where it gets interesting. Because you do have 5 to 6 top-level defenses. You have the Texans. You have the Broncos. You have the Steelers, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Ravens at the top of the list. I would still say go after Brandon Aubrey first. But if you have to gamble, and if you don't like the way your draft is going, and you have to make a statement, take one of those top defenses. Especially if you look at the schedule and see what teams your defense would be playing. Now, a lot of people, myself included, do not like the AFC South. That, again, increases the value for the Houston Texans defense. Now, the Broncos have a great defense, but I think they're ranked a little too high given the fact that you're going to have to play against the Chargers twice, the Chiefs twice, and a revamped and possibly better Raiders offense. Of course, everybody is jumping on the Rams bandwagon because of the rumors that will most likely come true that Aaron Donald is going to come back for the LA Rams to join Myles Garrett. I have to admit, it would be very, very tough for me to pass up on drafting the Rams defense. Although, 2 games against a very good Seattle offense, 2 games against a very good San Francisco offense, and yes, whether you want to believe it or not, 2 games against a very good Arizona Cardinals defense. Something to consider. This is why I'm saying you are going to have to put a lot of work into this if you want to win the league with your friends. Now, if it's just a casual league, go for broke. Make some crazy, nutsy, cuckoo choices. I'm all down with that. But if you really and truly want to beat your friends, listen to the advice the Maestro is giving you. I hope I have helped you out here in our fantasy football preview. Of course, next week, as I mentioned earlier, your Uncle Dave will be back, and we will recap how the fantasy football draft in 2026 went here on Sports Frenzy 2.0. I guess I should tack on an addendum here because I really didn't talk about quarterbacks, did I? I'm not a big fan of quarterbacks. That's why I kind of dismissed them at the beginning when we started this whole fiasco, talking about who you should draft, who you should stay away from. Quarterbacks, again, I don't think you should prioritize. Let the Bills fans take Josh Allen. Let the Bears fans take Caleb Williams. Once again, I will say, and I do think I mentioned this earlier, go with a late pairing. Go with like a Bo Nix, Matthew Stafford, or a Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes even. Patrick Mahomes is actually being ranked a lot lower than I thought he would be. But don't buy into the hype on somebody like Jackson Dart, Trevor Lawrence. Come on. Please. My advice for drafting quarterbacks is going to be wait. All right, college football. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but first up, the polls are out for the AP. Now, of course, a few weeks ago we discussed the coaches poll. And there's not a lot of difference between the coaches poll and the AP poll. Ohio State number 1, Oregon number 2, Georgia number 3, Notre Dame number 4. So they are up a spot from where they were in the coaches poll. And the University of Miami, the Hurricanes, are number 7. But then, of course, we have this stupid, idiotic jersey number fight going on at LSU between number 5, current number 5, DJ Pickett, and former number 5, Jaden Daniels. Here's the thing. Jaden Daniels got some bad advice. And it's out there. Yes, it was his peeps. It was his hangers-on. It was his followers that told him, you shouldn't take this. This is disrespect. Jaden Daniels has done jack shit. Great. He got to the NFC Championship game in his first year. And then what happened in his second year? Nothing. I will always defer to the fact that Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Until you win a Super Bowl, you are not better than Trent fucking Dilfer. Okay, Jaden Daniels? So settle down, calm down, tell your idiot followers and peeps to keep their pie holes shut. Abject stupidity, the entitlement that these athletes seem to think that they have. I did something great. Retire my number. How dare you give my number to someone else? What have you done for me lately? How about that? Let's switch over to NASCAR. I was not a fan of the Richmond race this past Saturday night. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dull. But of course, what would you expect from the next gen car? Ryan Blaney got the pole. It was cool I will admit it was cool to finally get some racing on a Saturday night. But how about Joey Logano, written off for dead about 5 weeks ago? And now he's won 2 of the last 4 races on the Cup Series, and he has thrust himself firmly into championship contention. Now, I have not got the ratings for Richmond in yet. Going back the week before, I do have the ratings for Iowa, and they aren't good. 1.929 million viewers, down 11% from 2025. Silly season news, Noah Gragson. Looks like it's confirmed he will be back with Front Row Racing in 2027. And then, of course, the worst kept secret in NASCAR, Connor Zilisch will officially be moving to Hendrick Motorsports in 2028. Now, you know I hate what they're doing with the schedule release in terms of the NASCAR Cup Series. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. Dribs and drabs. Every day we'll give you one track. Then we'll let you know what's going on with one track. So we still do not have the full schedule for 2027 yet. This is the dumbest move ever. NASCAR, you are idiots. Just release the entire schedule. But we have to discuss what we have. Dover is back on the schedule for 2027, replacing North Wilkesboro. We knew this to an extent. We knew North Wilkesboro was going to get the All-Star race again, which meant they were going to lose their points race. Rockingham is gone after 2 years. Now, of course, that is with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. Homestead will again be the championship race in 2027, just like it is in 2026. Yay, yippee skippy, boring, boring, boring. We did get some final confirmation on Chicago. It looks like Chicago will get another race at Chicagoland Speedway. And we will not get another street race. This is not confirmed. The part about Chicagoland is confirmed. The part technically about the street race being next, not yet confirmed, but given what we've heard over the last couple weeks about Coronado, that seems to be the street race that NASCAR prefers instead of going back into Chicago. Then, of course, for those of you who follow IndyCar, the Grand Prix of Ontario, Louis Foster got the pole. Marcus Ericsson won the race. And that will lead us into our picks for race 25 of the NASCAR 2026 Cup Series. The Dollar Tree 301 from Loudon, New Hampshire. Now, you guys know I like to keep you involved, keep you in the loop when it comes to the frenzy competitions, the sports frenzy, ins and outs and how we do things. I've already told you about fantasy football and how we have 8 teams where most of you have 10 to 12 teams. Now, our NASCAR competition, the Frenzy Cup, is wrapping up for the regular season, just like the regular Cup Series drivers are. So we've got 2 races left. This would be race 25 this coming Sunday, August the 23rd, 2026. The Dollar Tree 301 from Loudon. Next week will be Daytona, and then we will reset pretty close. Almost exactly like NASCAR is doing, as they have reverted back to their chase format. So we're going to have a little bit of a problem. Since we're doing things the way NASCAR wants to do them now, we are looking at a possible 4-way tie heading into the playoffs, into the chase. And this will not help matters. Kev, Dave, and Bill, 3 of the 4 guys tied at the top in the Frenzy Cup standings, are taking Christopher Bell. Now, Aaron is the 4th. He, along with Sam and Jen, they're taking Chase Briscoe. Will this make a ton of difference? I don't know. I really honestly think next Saturday night at Daytona, that will decide. Maybe we'll get some separation there. Somebody is bound to get a DNF at that super speedway. Meanwhile, Nick is taking William Byron, and Doug is taking Ryan Blaney. So there you go. There are your picks for race 25 of the Frenzy Cup season. Now we've got basketball to discuss. We had the Hall of Fame enshrinement over the weekend, and of course, you should know by now how much I despise the Basketball Hall of Fame. Amari Stoudemire, really? This is why I think the Basketball Hall of Fame is a joke. An absolute joke. And some of the names I'm seeing coming up over the next 3-4 years, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Then we get, shocker. The NBA, reports say the NBA does not have any evidence that Clippers owner Steve Ballmer funneled money to Kawhi Leonard through sponsorship deals. You know what this does? This opens up Pandora's box. How are you going to stop any league, the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, or the NBA, from illegal circumventing of the salary cap if you can't prove this obvious situation where the Clippers did indeed circumvent the salary cap? Way to go, Adam Silver. You might have actually destroyed major sports in America. Way to go, buddy. And then, of course, we have this whole deal with the Lakers. Can they sell the team? Jeannie Buss is the fly in the ointment, so to speak. She is holding things up as she is claiming that she has the veto rights. Even though the rest of the Buss family wants to sell. Supposedly there is a clause in the contract that says that Jeannie Buss is the governor and has to be the governor through, I believe, 2030. And she can contest any transaction that affects that. So we'll keep you up to date on that. We'll let you know if Jeannie Buss, by the way, she is really good looking. Good Lord. Good for Phil Jackson. Even though he's a dope smoking doofus. Good for him if he was tapping that. But we'll let you know with anything and everything that of course happens with the pending sale of the Lakers. And then of course we have the WNBA. The Indiana Fever are playing extremely well right now, despite the fact they have the worst coach in the WNBA. The Fever are 24-12. They just won last night in Toronto, despite the fact that supposedly it was an oven inside that arena, forcing Kelsey Mitchell to bow out of the fourth quarter. Even though she did not play in the fourth quarter, Kelsey Mitchell still managed to tie Asia Wilson's record with her 20th straight game of 20 or more points. Now this crosses over. Does not matter if you did it in a year or crossed over from one year to the next. Very, very impressive. And then, of course, a record 16 times here in 2026. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, both in the same game, scored 20 or more points. So the Fever are racking up all sorts of records. Here's the thing. Can they shove the politics and all the bullshit aside and make all these records mean something by actually winning a title? And how about my girl, the future ex-Mrs. Crane, Sophie Cunningham, comes out and says the WNBA needs a, quote, bold, unquote, commissioner. A direct shot across the bow for one Kathy Engelbert, who is worthless. She is worthless. She's an idiot. Sophie Cunningham is saying what anybody who watches the WNBA knows. Get a better, a more competent commissioner in there immediately. And you can boo Sophie all you want, Canada. You're just reinforcing the fact that you suck. Donald Trump is right. You suck. And then finally, sad news. Arguably the best looking, most attractive lesbian in the WNBA, Azzi Fudd, with a knee issue, is done for the year for Dallas. So sad. I just wish there was some way I could talk to her for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, convince her to switch teams. She's wasting her time with Paige Beckers. Come over to our side. come over to our side, Azzy. It's much nicer over there. We will work really, really hard. We've got books. We've got books. If you haven't been watching Tires, you might not know what I'm referencing, but we've got books that will help us make you happy. So Azzy Fudd, number one pick in this past WNBA draft, done for the year. Golf news, good and bad. And then, of course, we'll have to save some for the end of the episode, because you know what comes at the end of the episode. The first round, the first week of 3, when it comes to the FedEx Cup playoffs. And I still don't think the PGA Tour has figured this out. I still don't like this. I still don't think they understand how to make this truly competitive. Because if they did, Rory McIlroy would be out on his ass right now. But somehow he gets to play on, despite the fact he finished 66th at the St. Jude Championship, 8 over par. Oh, but he gets a pass because he's Rory McIlroy. I'm going to tell you this right now, kids. There is no athlete right now on the face of the earth I hate more than Rory McIlroy, and I would love to take him on in Thunderdome and punch him in his rat face, because he is doing nothing but ruining golf. People think he's sticking up for golf. He's ruining golf. And I will have more evidence at the end of the podcast. Oh, but look who won the St. Jude Championship. That would be one Scottie Scheffler. And he dominated. He won by 8 strokes, finishing 17 under par. Yeah, 17 under for Scottie Scheffler, 8 over for rat face Rory McIlroy. Now, of course, Rory is laughing and ha ha ha, Live Golf is falling apart, ha ha ha. Because that's all he's got, is to laugh at the misfortune and misery of others. Live Golf has canceled officially. We knew this was coming for a few weeks. They've officially canceled the season finale at Michigan. And to save money, now Live Golf has these concerts, I guess, that they pair up with their events. So they've canceled the concerts coming up this weekend at Indianapolis, August the 20th through the 23rd. But that will be, in terms of the golf on the course, the season finale. Now, they have met, supposedly the golfers have met with the prospective investor who is going to keep, again, supposedly, quote unquote, Live Golf alive into 2027. We'll see how this all plays out. And once again, I will say, wait till the end of the episode before we get the immature and pathetic response from the PGA Tour. Your Clint Eastwood badass of the week. Going back to NASCAR. Kyle Larson. Now, Kyle Larson finished 6th this past Saturday night at Richmond. But because of a weather delay, he was able to hop on a private jet, fly to Iowa, get in a sprint car and win the Knoxville Nationals the same night that he finished 6th in the Cup Series at Richmond. That, my friends, is badass. And that gets Kyle Larson a shout out as the Clint Eastwood Badass of the Week. No, I didn't forget baseball. Here on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Castbox, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Audio only on YouTube. And of course, don't forget to check out our Facebook page, where we will post all of our expert panels, NASCAR picks every Thursday night, all of our expert panels, baseball picks no later than Monday afternoon, and then of course coming up very, very soon, football picks, football coming within the next couple weeks. Week 0 of the NCAA season coming very, very soon. Now, of course, we had the Field of Dreams game about a week ago. The Phillies beat the Twins 7-1, and of course, my man, Kyle Schwarber, jacked 2 home runs into the corn. I still think Kyle Schwarber will be one day in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Everybody's making a big deal about St. Louis Cardinals rookie Joshua Baez because, of course, he jacked not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs against the Chicago Cubs. And he became the first player ever in Major League Baseball history to hit 3 home runs in his first 3 Major League at-bats. What has he done since? Not much. So let's all cool the jets, all right, on Joshua Baez. Now, of course, the Cubs and the White Sox have been playing each other this week in a continuation of the Crosstown Classic. Cubs won 2 of 3. The 2 wins in walk-off fashion. But the White Sox are still in very, very good shape. 66-60 after winning today. 4 games up on Minnesota. Second place in the AL Central. By the way, I don't have a problem with this. I never had a problem with it when it came to the NFL. Right, the Seattle Seahawks came into the playoffs under 500 and won a game. I don't have any issues. Sometimes it just happens. The numbers fall a certain way. You're going to get at least 1, if not 2 teams in the American League this year because the American League is trash. You're going to get at least 1, if not 2 teams, my prediction, coming in, most likely from the West, under 500. So at 66-60, the White Sox should be in perfect, primo shape to get that number 2 bye. That second seed, get that bye. Now, unfortunately, I think in the American League East, the Rays are going to choke it away, and they're going to let the Yankees end up getting the number 1 overall seed. But still, the Yankees, my prediction right now, on August the 19th. The Yankees and the White Sox will be your number 1 and number 2 seeds getting byes in the American League. We move over to the National League, where, as I mentioned, the Cubs did walk off on the White Sox in the Crosstown Classic Series twice. Cubs are 74 and 54, still can't make up any ground on the Milwaukee Brewers. As I record this, the Cubs are still in second place, still 5 games back of the Brew Crew, who we'll talk about more in a couple minutes. Bad news for the Cubs. Dansby Swanson. Really, you look at this more as an issue for the defense. Yes, Dansby Swanson was on pace to hit over 20 home runs, drive in over 80 runs, but he was only hitting, 215, 220, somewhere in there. Now he has an oblique strain that will keep him out 4 to 6 weeks. That means basically the rest of the regular season. So Nico Horner shifts over to short. We will see how this impacts the Cubs going forward. I don't think it's going to impact their chances of being the number 1 wild card in the National League. I think they've pretty much got that locked up. But again, you've got to get over the hump here. You have got to slay the dragon. You have got to figure out a way to get beyond the Milwaukee Brewers. For decades and decades, everybody has said, oh, our number 1 rival is the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals are pussies. I'm not worried about the Cardinals. I'm worried about the Brewers. Can we figure out a way to beat the Brewers? And I think we still have 7 games left with Milwaukee. So let's see how that all plays out. But yeah, Cardinals fans, fuck you. You're insignificant right now. You mean nothing to Cubs fans. Nothing. We have to worry about the path going forward, and the roadblock in that path is, once again, the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, moments of silence as we start to wind things down here. First and foremost, Tommy John. As you all should know, and those of you who might be of the younger generation, maybe you don't. But Tommy John, significant in many different respects when it comes to baseball history. Now, of course, first and foremost, what you look at, what you think of, is now, unfortunately, the elbow surgery, the massive reconstruction of the elbow. When you hear that your favorite pitcher, your star pitcher, is undergoing Tommy John surgery, you freak out a little bit. You go, oh, God. No, I mean, well, you are going to lose him for at least a year. Now, see, I am not an optimist. You guys know this. I am not an optimist. And I get a little bit upset and a little bit tired of all these people saying, oh, it's not the end of the world. Tommy John surgery is not the end of the world. They'll bounce back in a year and a half and be better than ever. This is why we're never going to have a 300-win pitcher, let alone a 200-win pitcher ever again. Is because of this attitude and this mindset. We're already talking about Paul Skeens having to undergo surgery because his velocity is dropping. Oh, he must need surgery. He must need reconstructive elbow surgery. Tommy John surgery. No, it's because you idiots, you stat geeks, have destroyed the game and told these pitchers how to pitch in the most unhealthy and ridiculous way possible. Now, all that being said, that has no reflection on Tommy John. He just happened to be the first guy who decided to dive into the water and say, I'll do it. I'll be the first one to take a chance on this surgery to see if it can prolong my career. And it did. And by the way, this is going to turn out to be, mark my words, another situation, another instance where we're going to see somebody get into the Baseball Hall of Fame after they died. Because the idiots, the writers, the people in the media who think they're so smart and they're such geniuses, oh, we didn't understand Tommy John's significance. You realize the fact that the guy almost had 300 wins. I believe he had 288 wins. You're not getting anybody anymore because of how the stat geeks have destroyed the game. Nobody's getting close to 288 wins. How can you keep Tommy John out of the Baseball Hall of Fame? You morons. And then, of course, the founder, one of the co-founders of ESPN. Am I supposed to be jumping for joy? Dancing in the streets? Paying homage to Bill Rasmussen? Initially, his idea was good. Initially, his idea worked. But like all the other great ideas, somebody got a hold of it later on, twisted it, turned it into shit on toast. Because that is what ESPN is now, is shit on toast. So we're supposed to say, thank you, Bill Rasmussen, for all you did giving us ESPN. I will say thank you, Bill Rasmussen, for giving us ESPN maybe the first 20 years. And after that, you never should have left it in the hands of morons, which is what you did. That being Disney. So thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of Tommy John and Bill Rasmussen. And with that, we pivot. Yes, we pivot to the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week in the world of sports. I have 5 for you this week. Since your Uncle Dave is not here, you are going to have to bear the burden. You are going to have to vote on which of these dumbasses is the worst of the week. Of course, I will give you my humble opinion. We'll start off with baseball. I mentioned earlier that the Milwaukee Brewers continue to be a thorn in the side of the Chicago Cubs. They beat down the Seattle Mariners the other night, 22-0. Now, plenty of records, as you can imagine, were set with this game. Worst beatdown ever for Seattle. Largest shutout, tied for the largest shutout win ever, going all the way back to 1888. Yes, we are going back over a century. before we can find a more significant beatdown than 22-0. But perhaps the worst that came out of this was Julio Rodriguez, star outfielder for the Mariners, who, now they were getting their asses kicked. I get that. I get it. But Julio Rodriguez caught an easy pop fly, okay? Caught an easy pop fly, turned around, tossed the ball into the stands. The problem was, now it was the 8th inning, but the problem was that was only the second out. So that allowed more runs to score, which again eventually led to the 22-0 beatdown. Milwaukee over Seattle. So you pick. Who are the dumbasses here? The Seattle Mariners? Julio Rodriguez? Please, you let me know. How about the U.S. men's flag football team? Oh, this flag football fad. It's going crazy. It's blowing up, Maestro. Yeah, great. Well, once again, when the U.S. always brags about everything and says we're the best at something, it inevitably smacks them in the face. The U.S. men's flag football team suffered their first competitive loss. I would imagine that means that this was a real game that mattered and not a practice game or scrimmage. The U.S. men's flag football team lost in their first competitive match since 2012. They lost to American Samoa. But of course, the U.S. still somehow managed to win the overall title. And this is yet another reason why I fucking hate Roger Goodell. Shoving flag football right up our asses. Nobody cares about flag football. It's a sport for pussies. Speaking of pussies, Kirk Herbstreit. If you guys haven't figured out by now how much I absolutely despise Kirk Herbstreit. I don't know what podcast you have been listening to. All I will say, and nobody else wants to ask the question, but all I will say is, are you allowed to take your dog to work? Are you allowed to take your cat, your pet, to work? Kirk Herbstreit is. Kirk Herbstreit is because he's special. Kirk Herbstreit is special. He gets to bring his dog. Oh, and the last dog died. So now he gets to bring his new dog to work. And guess what? You want to rub it in our faces, Kirk? You fucking asshole. He's another one. Let's put him in the Thunderdome with me. Kirk Herbstreit is the biggest phony on the face of God's green earth. I need my dog. I have to have my dog. Everybody else should get to then, right? Everybody else should get to take their dog to work. No. It's just me because I'm special. I'm Kirk Herbstreit. You pussy. Now his new dog, Peter, believe it or not, has got himself an NIL deal. So guess what, people? Not only does Kirk Herbstreit get to break the rules that the rest of us don't get to, but now he gets to make money off of it. Because do you really think the money's going to Peter? I hate phony celebrities like this. They are the worst of the worst. And Kirk Herbstreit, bring it on, bitch. Bring it on. Sports Frenzy Thunderdome, you and me. But you can't bring your dog, you pussy. Speaking of pussy, what a despicable display. Again, this is why Sophie Cunningham said earlier that the WNBA needs a bold commissioner. So the Indiana Fever, wherever they go, you have to move the team from the smaller arena to basically the NBA arena, if they have one. And they do. In Toronto. Well, now, this was Atlanta. I'm sorry. They played in Toronto a couple nights ago. Before that, it was in Atlanta. State Farm Arena. I believe this is where the Hawks play. Now, the game went into overtime. So I have to give you some context here. The game went into overtime. And we got halfway through overtime. And then this jackass, pathetic security guard comes up to this mother and her daughter who are wearing XY shirts and tells them, you have to cover these up or we're going to take you out of the arena. And again, the game is in overtime. So some liberal fucktard who didn't like the fact that they were trying to, this mother and this daughter were trying to stick up for women's rights. And by the way, some investigative reporting showed that they found the person who bitched and pissed and moaned. And she was wearing a trans rights shirt. And luckily, things did not get worse because they did show she had to cover up her shirt as well. But if this is what we've come to as a society, where you can't wear an XXXY shirt with nothing else on it, because that's considered offensive, we are violating free speech laws. This is why I initially thought this could have been Canada, because in Canada, I could see this. Canada's become so fucked up over the last couple decades, it's ridiculous. But this happened in Atlanta. And this is why Sophie Cunningham says we need a bold commissioner, because somebody should step up and say, don't do this anymore. Just let it go. There's nothing obscene about XXXY. There's nothing obscene about a shirt saying trans rights. But this is the problem we are dealing with in America in 2026, is we've let the alphabet mafia take control. And they get to dictate what is right and what is wrong. Nothing in this scenario is wrong. Both parties should have been allowed to wear their shirts, shut your pie holes, and watch basketball. Finally, we get to my buddy, my best friend, Rory McIlroy. This is going to be a really difficult decision for me when it comes down to me deciding. Of course, you guys in the end get the final say. But for my vote, who's going to be the Red Foreman dumbass of the week? Rory McIlroy could have kept his mouth shut for another 48 hours and he would not be in this segment. However, we discussed earlier what's going on with Live Golf. They've canceled their Michigan finale. Now, Indianapolis is the finale for the season. The future is uncertain. And of course, Rory's reveling in it like the rat-faced bitch that he is. Rory basically came out and said, and again, Scottie Scheffler takes the high road. This is why we all root for Scottie Scheffler and wish Rory McIlroy would end up injured in a ditch somewhere, like his hero, Tiger Woods. While Rory is wallowing in the filth, Scottie says, let's welcome back the LIV golfers if they want to come back. Rory, what value do the LIV golfers bring to the PGA Tour? I'll tell you, Rory, you rat-faced fuck. You think you're hot shit because you won the last 2 Masters. Okay. But before that, you did nothing. So you've won two majors in the last 7 years, right? How about Jon Rahm, one of the top golfers on the LIV Golf Tour? Hey, guess what? Jon Rahm has also won 2 majors in the last 7 years. Oh, and you hate that YouTube asshole, Bryson DeChambeau? Guess what, Rory? He's also won 2 majors in the last 7 years. So you have no fucking right to denigrate Bryson DeChambeau and Jon Rahm when they have won the exact same number of majors as you in the last 7 years. I wish I could flip Rory McIlroy off. But of course, the podcast is only audio. So regretfully, I can't. But, oh my God, I hate Rory McIlroy so much. I hate him with the passion, the fire of 1,000 suns. He is such a hypocritical douchebag. Let's ask his wife how she feels about Rory McIlroy. Let's ask Amanda Balionis how she feels about Rory McIlroy. Oh, am I overstepping? I don't give a fuck. If you're a celebrity, act like you care about your public image. This is, again, why we root in golf for Scottie Scheffler. One stupid, insignificant moment where he was arrested, which turned out to be bullshit, versus Rory McIlroy cheating on his wife, and of course Tiger Woods, multiple offenses involving drinking and driving and Asian hookers. Oh, but we have to love them. We have to love Rory and we have to love Tiger. No, I don't. I can hate both of them and wish and hope they burn in hell. That is it for the latest and greatest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on Wednesday, August the 19th. Dropping early Thursday morning, August the 20th, 2026. I'm not going to apologize because you guys know the rules. We do not apologize here on Sports Frenzy when it comes to our feelings, our emotions, and our opinions. Only apologize if you are factually incorrect. And I am not factually incorrect to say that Rory McIlroy is a piece of human refuse. However, he is not my choice for the Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week. That would be Kirk Herbstreit and his dog. Boy, those two. Kirk Herbstreit and Rory McIlroy. You want to talk about people who are playing us? People who are manipulating us, our feelings, our emotions? Those two are scum. And it just so happens this week that I will choose Kirk Herbstreit over Rory McIlroy as my Red Foreman dumbass of the week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Do not forget to check out the weekend edition. Yes, again, it will be me, the Maestro, Kevin Crane solo. Saturday morning, August the 22nd, I will have my reviews of Paul McCartney's new album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, new movie on Netflix, The Last House. And then I will keep you updated on all the TV streaming and movie news, trailer news. And of course, we've got a bunch of shows now that we're going to be discussing over the next few weeks. Reacher, Tires, Lanterns, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And by the way, Go to Hell, Peacock. We'll discuss that more on Saturday morning, but until then, I am your favorite uncle, next to your other favorite uncle, the Conquistador Dave Height. I am the Maestro Kevin Crane. We will talk again soon, kids. Peace out.